And so when a person's nervous system has what they need, it's not that we're not going to ebb and flow because we're not robots, right? So things happen, we get upset, but can we come back down? Or are we getting stuck in that revved up, right? And so every time our nervous system has to process something, it's a withdrawal. And so can they put enough in to stay even or above?
Yeah, the flow, that withdrawal.
But for kids who have PDA, like Kai said, it is a nervous system disability. And so their nervous systems are even more sensitive.
This is Therapy Unmasked, and it's put together by Ability Innovations, and we're so happy to have you guys here with us. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll start with some questions that our viewers might want to hear about.
Sounds good. Are you okay if I go first?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Katie. I am a professional mom.
Professional mom.
Yay. You'll hear.
He left too.
So I have 4 kids, and Kai is my oldest.
Well, if you have 4 kids, you're a professional now.
I know.
You'd have had,
Seriously.
13.
Yeah.
you imagine
So
that?
I have 4 kids, and 3 of my kids have ADHD and autism. And we'll talk a little bit more about what 2 of my kids have today and other needs. And I have been a stay-at-home mom, caregiver to these disabled kids, homeschooling mom for 12 years now, because Kai just graduated from high school. Yeah, I started homeschooling when
I
in
was
first grade.
4?
You were in first grade. I think I'm done introducing myself. What do you want to say, Kai, about you?
I'm Kai. I'm 18 years old. I use they, them pronouns. I was definitely born with autism.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
And you're a cosmetology student right now, halfway through the program.
At OTech.
Yep. And just finished their senior year homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I'm old.
You are old.
I turned 16.
18.
18.
You turned 18
Your
in
math
2
I turned
weeks.
18 a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Oh, a few weeks ago. Fantastic.
Yes.
Wow, so you're a professional too.
Yes. I didn't get diagnosed with autism until last summer.
Until last summer. Okay.
And
Yeah.
Kai's other siblings too. So
I was told I didn't have ADHD. I had social anxiety and panic disorder. It was most definitely not that.
Your diagnosis kind of evolved. Maybe since we're already going into that, let's segue right into that. Tell us a little bit more about your diagnosis.
Okay,
I mean,
so
today we're talking specifically about PDA and what that is, but you can...
my conditions are comorbid. I have been officially diagnosed with autism, ADHD, pathological demand avoidance, aka PDA, a rarer autism profile.
we'll chat.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Generalized anxiety disorder, ARFIDs, waiting on a diagnosis for sensory processing disorder, and for POTS, and for hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Also, complex PTSD,
I do have that diagnosis.
gender dysphoria, and then we're working with
Synesthesia as well, but that's
Synesthesia, wow.
apparently it's not normal to be able to smell temperature.
No, it's not.
Cool, great.
That
Yeah.
is unique. That's pretty cool.
Each temperature, temperatures have a very distinct smell for me. And it's not just oh, you open the oven and you get that whiff of cooked air. It's
You actually smell the temperature.
yeah, I've tried to
and
explain
we
it. It's
forgot.
shape-based kind of.
We mentioned Nick before we started recording that you have hearing aids.
Yeah, low gain hearing
But
aids.
You
I
have
also have misophonia and auditory processing disorder.
Yeah.
So I'm just a grab bag of diagnoses.
But the sensory is really heightened. All 5 senses is really, really heightened
Except for my-
Kai and my other
my
PDA.
eyes. That's the
It's
one
the
thing
same.
that isn't
Those
the
are,
greatest.
Sight.
are low.
Yeah.
So you need glasses.
I do not have the greatest vision. I have decently powerful
Well, yeah,
glasses.
something's got to even out there because you've got a lot of things going on.
And my other PDA is like that too. My 11-year-old also has autism, ADHD, and PDA. And he has the misophonia and auditory processing disorder and very sensory avoidant.
I'd say
he
more
smells
sensory
things
seeking.
I don't smell. He's sensory seeking and sensory avoidant. It depends on what
We see that a lot.
the
yeah.
thing is. Yeah. So
That sensory is not great.
is it okay if I talk a little bit about you laid out what you've been diagnosed with, but Kai mentioned, it took a really long time for my kids to get properly diagnosed. We had them where I was homeschooling them and a stay-at-home mom. I had no idea how much I was hacking parenting, and where I have 3 kids with autism, then I was just like, this is normal for our household, you know? And my kids, they met all of their developmental milestones. As you can see, Kai is very, very verbal.
I apparently was talking from like 18 months onward.
Like full paragraphs. And all 3 of my kids, even though they have disabilities and even learning disorders, they all have huge IQs, very, very highly intelligent kids.
You can tell.
So things that are normal for the household, I'm like, oh, I just need to adapt and accommodate, and I'm homeschooling them so I can. And then we hit COVID, and my middle guy with autism was born with like an airway malformation. So our family was super duper shut in. And so I feel like that kind of activated some of these things, and all of the kids have been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder.
Wait,
so
all
we
of
couldn't.
us? Oh no!
All 4. So we couldn't get out and get variety, and so that anxiety was kind of cementing in for them. And so that's when I started to wonder, I think there might be something going on with my kids.
There's something more complex here. Yeah.
And so I took him to be evaluated by a local neuropsychologist, and he caught some things. But he missed autism in all 3 of my kids. He missed ADHD and Kai, and misdiagnosed some other things too, that I was just kind of standing back in the aftermath like, we're not there yet, especially with my 11-year-old. My 2 older kids, Kai and my 14-year-old, we were able to kind of get the ball rolling and like get them in therapies and things like that, and they were responding. But my 11-year-old, no matter what we did, we just couldn't quite get a foothold somewhere.
The neuropsychologist who originally diagnosed us said that my like textbook autistic younger brother, flat affect, really good at math, not the most social, all that. He said that he could not possibly be autistic because he can make eye contact.
Right. Or I was told like, your kids are too social. And I'm like, they're info dumping about special interests now is how I would.
That's how you understand it now, but back then,
socialization.
But also, like with the PDA, our kids are negotiating a lot. They're doing what's called equalizing behavior. They're trying to take away the demand of things. So people who are not familiar with PDA, they're like, this kid's not on the autism spectrum because they're making eye contact, too social. And it's like, but they were raised in a home where they were accommodated. And so I'm bringing in these kids that are doing quite well, all things considered, you know. So it wasn't until my 11-year-old, we went to, it's called Matt's Place, and he went through their intake process. And on paper, they're like, this kid's going to qualify for the, I can't remember what they call it, the full-time 40 hours a week program. And then they met him over telehealth. And then they went back as a team, and the therapist relayed what she saw. And she's like, can you bring him to the center in person? And they saw him, and they pulled him aside, and they were kind of doing some play therapy with him in the other room so they could talk to me privately. And PDA came up. And as they started to explain it, I'm like, yes. And if he has PDA, Kai has PDA. Yes, Queen.
I remember you picked me up from school and you were talking about how, they immediately were talking as if Shipton was autistic.
Oh, yeah, his autism. And I'm like, wait, he has autism? And they're like, don't you know he has autism?
We went here and
yeah. And they said, no, he doesn't. And I'm like, so he has autism. They're like, well, we're not diagnosing him obviously on the spot, but we're seeing indicators that yes. So as they started to talk to me about PDA, and they said they're moving towards working with PDA kids, but their center's not set up yet. And so they said, maybe try these other places. And so then I plunged into the world of PDA. And the more I learned about it, the more I'm like, yes.
It just seemed like such a nice fit, right?
It was the first thing that I feel like encompassed everything, because he had been diagnosed with oppositional defiance disorder. And as I learned about that, I'm like, that captures some parts of it, but you're missing. And I guess this might, I know we're all over. We got to finish talking about diagnosis, but a little segue here, side note. I was a nurse before I became a mom. So I have this background with anatomy and physiology. And then while I was raising my kids, I I had PTSD when they were little, when you guys were really little. I only had 3 kids. So then I got into yoga. And as I understood yoga from that nursing background, that anatomy and physiology end, it really helped me to understand what was happening in my body, my nervous system, my brain. Right. And then as I enjoyed my own yoga, well, then I became a yoga instructor and trained in trauma-sensitive yoga for adults and kids. And I've taught trauma-sensitive yoga. I'm not currently teaching, but I'm coming from that background too, from my own body, my own nervous system. Even though it's different, I know what it's like to be totally fine. And then all of a sudden you get triggered and I'm kicking into fight, flight, freeze. And I'm a full grown adult who's screaming or crying and it's not something that I'm choosing. And it's not something that I can control from like a mental, logical standpoint.
It's more happening to you.
Right. And so I need body-based tools. I need body-based awareness. I need to be able to ground and find where is my body in space and time, and now check in with myself. Am I safe here? Yeah. I just smelled something or heard something or saw something that reminded me of the trauma that I've been through when I wasn't safe. And so my brain took over, signaled to my nervous system and hijacked, so I'm coming from that background. So I'm watching Shipton and I'm like, I see what you're saying with ODD, but you're missing something with that diagnosis with my child. So the more I learned about PDA, the more confident I was that that's what he has. That's what Kai has. I looked into providers in Utah that would be qualified to make that diagnosis. I don't know that this would be the right answer for everybody, but for me, my mama gut, I knew we needed somebody who for sure has experience with PDA to recognize my kids. And so we flew out to California last summer. My kids now have an amazing psychologist there based in California who's dual licensed in Utah. And so she was able to diagnose my kids. It has been a long journey. Huh?
She reportedly said within like 5 minutes of meeting us, but specifically me, who for the record has been insisting for years, hey mom, I think I have ADHD. Hey mom, I think I have autism. Yes. Like I've done tons of research on my own. I'm like, oh dear, this fits me. But she said that within like 5 minutes of meeting me, she can say with 99 or 98% certainty that I had ADHD with a PDA profile. Right. And when that happened, I literally was like, I knew it. I'm like celebrating. Yeah. Like I texted my friends and I'm like, I knew it.
And was that, would you say, like a relief?
Oh, definitely.
To be given that official diagnosis that nobody can take away from you. Whereas before, you've always had ADHD and PDA, but it's kind of has more of a kick when you can say, I have been diagnosed with this. Right?
Before with the previous psychologist, when he said, oh, Kai, you don't have ADHD, then that kind of hit me kind of hard because I'm like, oh, clearly I must be faking like the hyperfixations, the inability to stay still, all of that. So I tried to force myself like, Kai, you're clearly faking it. You've clearly picked it up from somewhere. Just like stay still. Don't info dump. And that was when
Don't be you.
Yeah. That was when a lot of other stuff was going on in my life. So that like compounded. But when my therapist was like, no, Kai, you definitely have ADHD and give me like a soft diagnosis, then that's when I kind of allowed myself to be like, okay, like we're going to allow ourselves to be ourselves.
Yeah, like, who you are.
Yeah.
And then the better your mental health is, the less you feel like you have to pretend to be somebody that you're not or try to mask and not allow yourself to do those things that are like supportive.
This is honestly like the most comfortable I've been in my skin thanks to like a lot of factors, but also therapy and medication, finally on the right meds.
And people in your life who like believe you, understand you, support you. Totally.
That's amazing.
My partner, they are seriously amazing. I've explained like, oh yeah, I have this. And they'll actually go out of their way to be like, okay, how can I help you? How can I help support you? Like when I end up getting like overstimulated, and for some reason my brain's natural response when I go overstimulated is to like go nonverbal. Like go nonverbal, sometimes cry, then they'll just be like, come here, like, I'll help you. I have picked up bits and pieces of sign language. I need to learn more. Yeah. But I know gone mute or and voice gone. I learned that from another autistic friend. I also have like a text-to-speech app that I'll use. So, like I've learned to work around, but my partner is amazing. Like they'll help me. They'll be like, okay, like, what can I do to support you? Like, have you eaten today? When was the last time you drank water? Come here. Like, let's cuddle. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't know if you have somewhere you want to go, but this might be a good place to segue and acknowledge that Kai, and we can talk more about what PDA is, so maybe this will be significant if you keep listening, but to pause here and acknowledge Kai has a very severe subtype of autism, and they've had a partner for a year. They're halfway through
our 1 year anniversary.
their program in cosmetology at OTEC. They take their own medications without being reminded. They manage their own schedules, so they'll log on to their telehealth therapy. They keep their room clean. Like, they're doing so good. And as we keep talking and like listeners can understand a little bit about what Kai goes through, like how challenging things can be, I just want to acknowledge that because Kai was raised in ways that accommodate their PDA, they're doing so well today.
Accommodate your kids, y'all.
Yeah.
Is
That's your message.
helpful. I'm living proof.
If I had
Accommodate
parented
kids.
differently than I did, and if the providers that have the privilege of working with Kai would not accommodate as well, it would have impacted their long-term development, and they would not be able to be doing the things that they're doing today and be successful like they have today if we'd
So you
done it
guys have
differently.
really searched out the type of people that you feel like can really see your children and your situation in your family and be able to connect with them on that level. Yeah, there's lots of providers and things out there that
are
you know,
great professionals. They know what they're doing.
They have a different background, maybe. They have different understanding. But when you find the one that really works and everything clicks and you go, oh, this is really what's going on, it makes all the difference in the world, right?
And so knowing now that my kids have PDA, and back even before they got diagnosed, but it's like, we're pretty sure they do, but we're treating them as if they do. And like learning about PDA and then looking at how I eventually started parenting my kids, it was like totally in line with PDA because that's the only thing that would work, right? When I'm looking for a provider for my kids, I call ahead. I ask, are you aware of PDA? If I can sit down with the provider before my kid meets them, that's ideal because I can usually kind of tell, do they have a personality that they're open to like a professional parent being allowed to be part of the team, right? I can usually kind of tell, okay, will this work? Or is it going to become about a power struggle because they're of a mindset, or there are professionals that, how do I say this? Autism, often kids need a lot of structure and, a lot of guidelines. So there are professionals that are amazing at autism, but a lot of the standard approaches with autism aggravate PDA. Right. And so are they going to just constantly trigger my child? So then it just becomes about this power struggle because my child needs autonomy and we're just going to focus on that. And we're not going to get down to like the feeding therapy or the physical therapy. Yeah. So that leads to, there have been times that it's like, if then it's not going well and I'm like, hey, maybe try this, or can we do it this way? And they're still not open to it.
Right.
Then it's gotten so bad for my kids with some providers that I've had to just say, we're done. And that's hard sometimes because you don't want to offend people. And like, if they're a professional, you're like, we need your professional help. We do.
I have no problem offending people. Send me in.
Which is a gift of PDAs. They will do things and say things that other people don't dare. But if it comes to power differentials and injustices, send those PDAers because they're like, they'll take care of it.
They'll fight that battle. I love
but
it.
As a parent, I don't have PDA. And so that's definitely been a learning curve to be comfortable to just say, you know what, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And so we need to go somewhere else.
It's hard because you want to be nice. I mean, that's a thing in society. But at the same time, you have to advocate.
You have disabled children.
Right.
That if you can accommodate their disabilities, oh my gosh, these kids.
It makes all the difference.
But these kids are some of the coolest people that I have ever met. They think outside of the box. They are creative. Like I said, they will advocate fiercely for injustices and for people to have their autonomy. Like, so gifted if we just accommodate them.
Yeah.
That's all we have to do. But it can be so different what they need for accommodation. It's just like any other disability, right? But instead of saying, oh, here's your hearing aids and your glasses, Kai, or like a child that maybe needs a wheelchair or whatever, I'm the wheelchair, and me being willing to change the way that I talk, the way that I'm, managing the household, or if I'm a professional, the way that maybe I'm used to doing things, that's their hearing aids or their wheelchair for that equivalent in PDA.
Kind of accommodations are what empower them.
Exactly. Really. And I know I'm all over, but like from a nervous system standpoint, again, if their nervous system's activated and they're in fight or flight, as if they're being chased by a tiger, even though they're not, but that's what their brain and their nervous system is saying when their autonomy is threatened, then we're not going to be able to focus on anything but that.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so that's what we're having to do is take away as many demands as we can, communicate in ways that demonstrate that, hey, you have that autonomy. I'm asking for your consent. And we can give specific examples if that's helpful, but they call it declarative language.
Okay.
Accepting our kids' attempts at self-advocacy, which again, we already alluded, looks like negotiating.
Right.
It might be what they call equalizing behavior. Like my 11-year-old all the time, he'll be like, well, I can do that if I can have a Dollar Tree prize. And I'm like, done. Because for him, he's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. It's going to be so hard. What can I do to make it easier? A Dollar Tree prize? Done. If he's like $100 Lego set, then I'm going to come back and negotiate with him and be like, oh, I wish I could give that to you. And my budget's not that big. So can we think of something else that would maybe be better? Yeah.
Tip for all the PDA parents out there. If your child has to get their kindergarten vaccines, whatever you do not threaten to sit on them.
Yeah, should we talk about that? I'm a different mom to my 11-year-old PDAer and my 18-year-old PDAer than I was to my little baby Kai PDAer, right? I mean, we're laughing, but like, do you have memories of that? Mm-hmm. That is how we would, because like, okay, there are things that are non-negotiable, right? Like health,
why I have medical
safety.
trauma.
We needed to get Kai shots. But I did not go about it in a way that was PDA friendly.
Right. And you didn't know back then.
I had to get 2 shots.
I didn't know back then.
You're probably just doing the best that you could with what you knew.
But now that I know better, then it looks like, hey, we've got to get shots. Do you want to have it on this day or this day? Do you want to bring your blanket or your stuffed animal or both? Do you want to listen to music? How can we reward your brave behavior?
How can we equalize this?
Right. Or like, do you want to be the one to tell the nurse to do it? Or do you want the nurse to count backwards? Like giving them that autonomy where we can, which is not, you can't get the shots, right? But give them choices and autonomy and then just wording it with the declarative language. Would you be able to? I wonder, it might, maybe. What do you think? And just kind of
declarative language.
Yeah, like,
can you do this?
I'm noticing this. Yeah. Can you do this before lunch or after? And just kind of trying to leave it more open-ended in the way that we word it as well, too. So, yeah.
Let's take a step back, too, and see if you were going to explain what PDA is to a parent, both of you, if you're going to explain what PDA is to a parent where they're wondering, they're probably sitting at home like, this really sounds like my kid might have PDA with their autism. How do I know? What are some key things or key clues into knowing what this is?
Basically, when you're like, hey, I need you to like, I don't know, put on your shoes, and they're like, I can't. Or, hey, I need you to go to the dentist, and they hide in the coat closet for several hours, making you miss the appointment. Totally not speaking from experience. They're not being dramatic. It's literally like, I cannot. Most of the time when I describe PDA, I'm like, my nerve system is so sensitive that like when I feel like my ability to choose is being threatened, I will kick into fight flight and I will fight you and or God and I will make it everyone's problem.
And that happens like 0 to 60 in 1 millisecond.
And I would say too that before we kind of got in the swing of things of doing the low demand parenting more, it felt like the more they would hit that distress level, the more often they would, the higher they would go. But the more that I took demands away, then they're pretty even kill now, because it's like, okay, we know how to set home up and we've got, like, we're running our household low demand. with 2 PDAers. Yes, we are.
At least 2.
And the providers that they work with, and then Kai at school, Shipton's homeschooled, but the people that are closest to them are aware of it and understanding. So we don't see them hitting that stress level as often. But yeah, I agree. I think
or as intense.
There are days
or the duration is less.
Right. But if it's like, okay, think about it this way. It's like a bank account, right? And so when a person's nervous system has what they need, it's not that we're not going to ebb and flow because we're not robots, right? So things happen, we get upset, but can we come back down? Or are we getting stuck in that revved up, right? And so every time our nervous system has to process something, it's a withdrawal. And so can they put enough in to stay even or above?
Yeah, to float that withdrawal.
But for kids who have PDA, like Kai said, it is a nervous system disability. And so their nervous systems are even more sensitive than kids who have autism. Like my 14-year-old, ADHD and autism, he still has, to be aware of his nervous system and protect it. But these kids with PDA are picking up on things that other people don't. And so they're having to process extra. So things that may not seem like we're using the word demand, to us, it's like, oh, I have to go to school, so I need to get ready. But for kids with PDA, it's like, okay, you're withdrawing for brushing your teeth. You're withdrawing to figure out what to eat. You're withdrawing. So by the time you even get to school, you're already negative. And I don't think I realized
heightened level.
You are already, yes, in like on the verge, right?
Right.
And I didn't realize till I really started diving into parenting even before I knew what PDA was. But I've got these PDA kids. I'm trying to figure out how to parent, right? How many demands we as adults can put on little people and not even be aware.
Not even realize.
But it's like mainstream parenting or a lot of professionals that work with kids. It's like, I'm the adult, you're the child, do what I say.
Right.
Like Matilda.
Like Matilda. That's what I was just going to say.
But sometimes it's not even that extreme, right? Like I was amazed, like as a young mom having these 3 kids, 3 and under, 2 with autism, trying to be a normal mom. Like we're going to go to the park and we're going to go on play dates. And I'd watch my friends say to their kids, go pick up your shoes. They'd go pick up their shoes. But if I say that to Kai, Kai even has a little twinkle in there. Now that Kai's gotten older, like a couple years back, they're like, Mom, I can't do that because you just told me to do that. Like dead serious. Not like, it's not, again, that they're thinking about it. It's you look from that nervous system, similar to what I was describing with PTSD, and that is their nervous system brain reaction to it.
Yeah, it just goes right into that.
Right. And it's like, okay, so I'm not like on Matilda trying to be, I'm big and you're small, but like I cannot say to my PDAers, go pick up your shoes. I can say, would you be able to pick them up before or after dinner? Would you be able to pick them up before you go to bed? Could you? Or like, hey, I'm noticing your shoes are on the floor. I wonder if we should put them away so they don't get lost. Then the shoes can get put away.
So it's like reframing and reformatting.
Totally reframing
how
and reformatting.
That demand would affect or hit the child.
Right. And I think it's important to note too, sometimes parents are like, oh, I can't ask him to do anything. I can't push back ever. We can't have any boundaries. And no, they'll get dysregulated if you go too far that way too. But it's, okay, what are the basic things that I'm going to focus on? Eating, sleep, hygiene, safety,
right?
Medical, and those are kind of the framework. And then I feel like, is it fair to say we've got a relationship of safety and trust? And so
taking quite a few years.
Yeah. And so if I'm saying, hey, we need to find a way to do this, my kids trust that I'm not kidding, because I don't ask for that very often. But because we've focused on the relationship, then we can find a way to do the things, even if it's super duper hard. Okay, so for years, Kai would do their dental cleaning like normal, but any additional dental work had to be under total anesthesia because it was just that upsetting. So it's like, that's what we need to do. And then as they've gotten older, like we've been able to switch gears on a lot of things. We've talked about this before.
I've not bit the dentist on purpose in years. I almost did last time. He had his finger in my mouth about to get the shot. And I started to talk and he yanked his hand away.
That's different than you.
And I'm like, you pulled your finger away fast. And after Mom was like, Kai, you almost bit him. And I'm like, oh dear.
But when my kids were little and my 11-year-old, it's still a little bit like this, but the priority is to reduce stress as much as you can. I mean, it doesn't matter whether your child has PDA or not, or developmental disability or not, or mental health or not, like children, period, their brains are still developing.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're with people and in environments that are going to constantly stress them out, that is going to change the way that their brains form, right? So if we've got kids that are super duper sensitive, it means we've got to take a lot of intentional precautions for these kids. But when we do that when they're little, then when they're teenagers, we were talking about this with Kai on the drive down, like we've introduced social skills. So they have that option if they choose to mask. We've taught self-regulation rather than co-regulation all the time. Or what other skills did we talk about?
Anxiety management.
Yeah.
I went through the OCD and Anxiety Treatment Center. Shout out to them. They're absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I went through the intensive outpatient program.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated in 7 weeks. The record was 6 weeks. I almost beat the
PDA.
record. Yeah. But they helped me get my anxiety under control with exposure therapy. And that honestly got
super child-led.
That got the ball rolling to me realizing, like getting my anxiety under control, and then realizing, I think I might have autism. I think I might have ADHD. Yeah. Oh dear, I am not a girl.
Yeah,
it literally
and
went
then
like that.
Gender dysphoria we've had to work through too, huh? And then also teaching like self-advocacy skills, and along those lines too, self-awareness, and to like size up, like where am I at? How many spoons do I have? What's ahead in my day? And then like when you're feeling like you're getting dysregulated, Kai described like to try some of those things that tend to work. And
like you probably saw, I turned my hearing aids down when like there was the banging on the wall.
Loud sounds. Yep.
Yeah. That loud sounds, not my friend. I tend to turn my hearing aids down. They're Bluetooth connected. So I actually have a playlist of like music or YouTube videos that help with like panic attacks or dysregulation. My panic attack rescue med, I found actually can help when I'm getting dysregulated or even when I'm nonverbal. It does make me sleepy, but honestly, that's not the worst side effect. I do that, and then I do my best to remove myself from the situation or to like remove the demand. I've hidden the school bathroom more than a few times because I'm like, it's quiet in here.
Just need a minute to reset. Yeah. And because we parented Kai the way that we did when they were younger, they now have the capacity to do these things as a teenager and now a brand new young adult.
Learned a lot. They've learned a lot of things throughout the years.
Right. But
tools.
When they were younger, they may not have been able to do that. And like I look at my 11-year-old and we've got him at OT here, you know, he's in talk therapy and physical therapy. He's in feeding therapy. He's kind of at that age where he can handle some of those things. But for him, I feel like if we tried when he was younger, again, depending on who we were working with, the professional, it just may have stressed him out more than have been helpful, you know?
So do you feel like you've been placing all of these little bricks along the way, and then you have this wall that you can use later on, but you needed all those pieces early on?
Yeah, we needed all the pieces, and it's okay that we waited, if that makes sense. Because I think sometimes talking to parents with younger PDAers, they're trying to wrap their brain around, you're telling me to let so many things go. Does that mean my child is going to turn out not able to function? But when you add that PDA piece on top of the autism, you just have to look at it from a different angle and say, we are going for long-term best development. So if we look at long-term, short-term while they're young, we just kind of need to bubble wrap their nervous systems is what Matt's place told me. And I'm like, that's what we did, was take away as many demands as much and as often as we could so that they could handle the capacity when they got older to be handed tools.
So many great insights from you guys. Is there anything else that you're like, even just words of encouragement that you would share with families or people that are autistic that are saying to themselves, I think I have PDA?
It is a long journey. Not gonna lie, it is kind of scary and overwhelming sometimes, but find people who support you and believe you and understand you're not being dramatic. You're not faking it. this is an actual condition. You don't have to force yourself through dysregulation and burnout to like appear normal. It gets better. Like, I'm living proof. I never thought when I was younger, like I genuinely thought that, my life, like I'm not going to be able to handle all these things. But here I am, freshly 18. I have an amazing partner who supports me, good friends. I'm going to school to become a cosmetologist. My family supports me. I'm in therapy. I'm on the right meds. It has definitely been a journey, but like when you get there and look back, you're like, wow, okay, it was worth it. So just hang in there. I believe in you. Sending good vibes in your direction.
I have 3 things. Number 1, getting good support, not only for the kids, but also for yourself. And I don't know if you have show notes. If so, I'd love to send over.
You can add some of those in.
Yeah. So like, for example, one of the therapists that I work with every week, she has a child who has PDA. So to have a therapist who can support me in that way and understands all of the nuancing is huge. Along those lines too, some of my greatest supports have been fellow parents. And so I'm not able to safely be on social media right now, but on Facebook, there are groups from people all over the world. And PDA is better recognized and better supported in other countries.
Especially the UK.
Especially the UK. Mm-hmm. So we'll figure out how to get some of those groups put in the show notes. But really to be able to talk to other parents, some of the groups have adults with PDA mixed in with the parents. And so if you can be patient and accepting and kind when you interact with some of the adult PDAers, they can explain things that a little PDAer can't. Second thing would be to hold your head high. Oh, I'm going to cry. Because PDAers, like, you just have to toss the mainstream parenting on its head.
Yeah.
And that can be so hard. And people around can be so judgmental and shaming, and not even mean because they don't understand. They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
But that can be really hard as a parent when you are having to go completely different from what most people around you are doing with their own kids or telling you should do. But you can trust your mama gut. You're going to be able to figure out and your kid better than anybody else, right? And then the third thing is just lots of good self-care as a parent to make sure that you're doing what you can so that your nervous system is staying regulated so that when your child is dysregulated, you're like, here, borrow mine. So eating well, sleeping well, exercising, your own mental health, your own hobbies as much as you can.
Just like that bank account you were talking about.
That bank account of your own.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you can transfer money.
So you can transfer money. I mean, it really is when you co-regulate. And we were talking too, like co-regulation, like when you're offering your nervous system, it's not like you're like, do this step and this step and this step. It's not. It's nervous system to nervous system. So it's like you get in this dance with your child. Like my little 11-year-old, I used to hold open a big blanket when he's getting dysregulated, and he knew that meant back into the blanket. And then I'd swaddle him and we just rock until he was calm, I was calm, and then we could figure out what we needed to do based on what happened, So you got to take care of yourself as a parent to be able to take care of these amazing humans. To be able to have enough
for that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Well, there's so many insights. I kind of am foreseeing that we're going to need to do a follow-up with you guys and learn more.
We would love to come.
I can see so many parents just benefiting from this episode. And so I am deeply grateful that you guys would come on our show and help us understand your world a little bit more and help these families that are listening that they have hope, but they also have some tips and tools and strategies that they can use. And hopefully we can provide some more resources for them too.
I think that would be amazing. And maybe interview Shipton's OT, Rachel.
Well, I thought you were going to say
She's
Shipton,
amazing.
Like,
yeah, the 11-year-old. I don't know if we dare have the 11-year-old on, but
one of his vocal stims is listing out every single curse word he knows.
Yeah, so. PDAers, but maybe from a professional standpoint too, because she's magic with him.
She has been great. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to have to get some more of that in there. But thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
And we always talk about how there's these super abilities that everybody has. And not just the kids that come here, but the families. And we learn so many more. I mean, as you guys are going out, if you see that comic that's in the front of our building, right? That's that's how we view the world, is that every kid has these super abilities, and there's always little other abilities that we can learn that help us to be even more amazing. And I got to applaud you guys. Like, you guys have so many great abilities, but also you're learning so much more and growing. And that's what the world needs. The world needs people like you guys.
I do like learning
Amen.
things.
Amen. Yep. Thank you so much for having us, Nick. Thank you for providing this space for my kids.
And the courage and the vulnerability to come on our show. So thank you. Just want to say, if you like this show and you want to hear more, let us know, and we'll see if we can get these guys back on, and hope that you look into the resources that we're going to post. And follow us next time here in the Therapy Unmasked, and it's put on by Ability Innovations, and check us out at abilityinnovations.com, and we'll see you next time for the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.